Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
My parents founded a resort together, and they're both on the board of directors. I've been to plenty of their meetings over the years, so most of the staff knows I'm their son. I was homeschooled because of some bullying issues I had in middle school. My mom was pretty protective of me after that whole mess. Because of being homeschooled, most of my friends ended up being senior staff members and people who work with my parents on the board. I know it sounds kind of sad, but they're good people. I'm not exactly intimidating looking either. I'm only 5'7" and I've always looked younger than my actual age. This becomes important later in the story. Anyway, I was planning to spend a week or two at the resort with my fiance and my sister. We were visiting my mom who had some meetings going on. When we pulled into the parking lot, it was absolutely packed since it was midsummer. Cars were circling around looking for any open spots. My family has a few private parking spaces reserved, and I noticed my dad's car wasn't there, but my mom's was. We walked into the reception area, and there was a long line of people waiting to check in. One of the staff members who knows me spotted us and came over. He told me that my mother was currently in a meeting and offered to bring our luggage to our room. I thanked him and said that would be great. My fiance kept one bag that had our swim clothes in it since we wanted to hit the pool right away. After we got settled and had a good swim, we decided to grab lunch at the resort restaurant. I had thrown on a blue shirt but was still wearing my gray swim trunks. I didn't think much of it at the time, but my outfit looked almost identical to what the waiters were wearing. The only difference was that the staff uniforms had the word staff printed on them, but mine didn't. We were sitting at our table chatting and eating when I heard someone behind me rudely yell, "Hey, you!" I figured they were just trying to get a waiter's attention, so I kept talking with my fiance and sister. My sister had ordered something pretty spicy and didn't warn me about it. She knows I can't handle spicy food at all, but she let me try it anyway. I was chugging down some ginger ale trying to cool my mouth when someone suddenly grabbed my shoulder really hard from behind. I almost choked on my drink and ended up spitting it all over my sister. My sister yelled, "AW gross," and my fiance jumped up and was about to ask if I was okay when this woman interrupted her. The woman shouted that she had been trying to get my attention for a while now. I'm usually pretty calm and don't get mad easily, so I looked up at her and asked if she needed anything. She started yelling at me, asking why I was eating with the guests instead of doing my job. I realized pretty quickly that she thought I was a staff member because of what I was wearing, but I was getting annoyed with how much she was yelling when she was standing right next to me. I tried to tell her that I didn't work there, but she cut me off and told me to shut up. She screamed that she was a VIP at the resort. I tried to stay calm but raised my voice a little so she could hear me over her yelling. I said excuse me and tried again to explain that I didn't work there. That's when she slapped me hard across the face. Her long nails cut into my cheek and left a deep scratch that started bleeding immediately. She yelled at me not to use that tone with her and called me a brat. My fiance went pale when she saw the blood dripping down my face. My sister immediately started calling our mother to come help. The manager had been walking over when he heard the yelling, but he broke into a run when he saw her slap me. The manager rushed over and asked the woman what was going on, then asked if I was all right. The manager had worked at the resort for several years and was pretty casual with me since he knew my family well. My fiance was pressing a napkin against my cheek, trying to stop the bleeding. The woman turned to the manager and demanded that I be fired. She said I was unprofessional and that she didn't know why they hired such an idiot. She was pointing at me and talking like she owned the place. The manager tried to explain to her that I didn't work there, but she accused him of trying to cover for me. She demanded that he be fired as well. I had never seen someone's face turn as red as a tomato until that moment. Then I saw my mother walking over with two security guards. When she saw my fiance holding a blood-soaked napkin against my face and this woman still yelling at me, I thought she was going to explode. My sister had called and told her exactly what happened and what this woman had done to me. My mother rushed over and demanded to know what had happened. She ordered the guards to arrest the woman immediately. The woman asked what she meant by arrest her and demanded to know who my mother thought she was to give such orders. She was struggling when the security guards grabbed her arms. My mother shouted that she was the owner and asked how dare this woman slap her son. I will never forget the look on the woman's face when she heard those words. She went white as snow and her eyes and mouth were wide open like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. After the guards took her away, some of the other customers in the restaurant actually started clapping. My mother rushed over to check on my face. She had always been protective of me, especially after the bullying incidents that led to me being homeschooled. She was like a mother bear protecting her cub. We had to take care of the cut on my face, and I ended up needing stitches. Don't worry though, the scar faded completely after a few months. I'm 18 years old and help out at my brother-in-law's hotel in Kerala, India. He owns this place that has a restaurant attached to it. During tourist season, we get packed with visitors from all over the world, including plenty of Americans who love the local cuisine and hospitality. My brother-in-law started this hotel from scratch about 10 years ago. He worked his way up from being a waiter at another hotel to eventually saving enough money to buy this property. It's been in our family ever since, and I've been helping out during my school breaks, and now full-time after finishing my studies. I know every corner of this place, every staff member, and definitely every policy we have. That morning I was having breakfast in the restaurant with my brother-in-law and our general manager. We were discussing the day's bookings and some maintenance issues when I noticed a woman at the table next to us. She was clearly a tourist, tanned and wearing expensive clothes. She wasn't staying at the hotel, just dining in our restaurant like many day visitors do. My brother-in-law excused himself to handle some business outside the hotel and said he'd be back in about 30 minutes. The general manager went with him, leaving me as the most senior person around. I continued eating my breakfast, not thinking much of it until I heard raised voices. Our waiter, who I've known for 3 years, had just handed the tourist woman her check. She looked at it and immediately started making a scene. Karen told the waiter that she knew the owner and that he had said the food would be free for her. The waiter apologized but explained that he would need some confirmation from the owner before giving her even a discount. Karen insisted that she knew the owner, so the waiter asked how she knew him and whether she was his friend or relative. Karen claimed she was his cousin. I almost choked on my coffee. My brother-in-law's entire family is from Kerala. We don't have any American relatives, not even distant ones or half Americans. This woman was clearly lying through her teeth. I got up from my table and walked over to see what was happening. I politely asked if there was a problem, and the waiter explained that the woman was claiming to know the owner. Karen immediately got defensive, asking why a teenager was even talking to her. She demanded to know if I worked there and insisted on seeing the manager. I started to tell her that I did work there, but I stopped myself mid-sentence. I wanted to see how far this woman would take her lie. It was almost entertaining at this point. The waiter apologized and explained that the general manager had stepped outside for some time. Karen announced that she was calling the owner and that the waiter was going to be fired. She was starting to shout now, and other diners were beginning to stare. But here's the thing. My brother-in-law's phone was still sitting on our breakfast table, right where I could see it. I kept watching it, waiting for it to ring. Karen pulled out her phone and started having what was obviously a fake conversation. She was speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear, nodding and saying things like she was really talking to someone. Her acting was terrible. After about 2 minutes of this charade, she hung up and turned back to us. Karen announced that both the waiter and I were fired, pointing at us like she had some kind of authority. I told her that she needed to pay her bill and leave, or I would call the police. Karen was outraged and demanded to know who I thought I was. I told her that I was the owner's sister-in-law. Karen seemed shocked and asked what I meant. I repeated that she needed to pay the bill and leave. The color drained from her face for just a moment, but then she doubled down on her lies. She started yelling even louder, claiming I was making it up and that she really did know my brother-in-law. But then she crossed a line that I wasn't going to tolerate. She started shouting racial slurs at me, calling me names that I won't repeat here. She said I was a liar and that people like me couldn't be trusted. The entire restaurant went silent, and I could see other tourists looking uncomfortable and embarrassed by her behavior. That's when I'd had enough. I called hotel security and they came quickly. While they were escorting her out, she was still screaming about how she knew the owner and how we'd all be in trouble. Security made sure she paid her bill before they removed her from the property. After everything calmed down, I called my brother-in-law to tell him what happened. He wasn't surprised at all. He told me this was the third report he'd gotten about her that week. She had tried the same thing at 2 other hotels in town. The local restaurant association had been warning each other about her. Apparently, this woman had been going around to different hotels and restaurants, claiming to know the owners and trying to get free meals. She'd been partially successful at a few places because some staff members were too scared to confront a foreign tourist. When my brother-in-law got back, he thanked me for handling the situation properly. The waiter was relieved that he wouldn't get in trouble for refusing to give her free food. The evening brought even better news. One of the other hotel owners in town called my brother-in-law to thank him. Apparently, word had spread about what happened at our restaurant, and Karen had been banned from several establishments. She tried to pull the same scam at another place later that day, but they were already expecting her and called the police immediately. She was arrested for theft of services and disturbing the peace. Turns out she'd been doing this same scam in different tourist cities across India for months. The police had been looking for her after receiving multiple complaints. My brother-in-law was proud of how I handled everything. He said it showed I really understood the business and could be trusted with more responsibility. The waiter got a bonus for standing his ground and following proper procedures. Karen spent the night in jail and had to pay fines for all the restaurants she'd scammed. She was also banned from entering several hotels and restaurants in the area. Her little free meal scheme came to an expensive end. My parents got divorced about 3 years before this story takes place. My dad moved to New Mexico with his new wife. Let me tell you about her. She's the kind of person who thinks she's better than everyone else just because she has money. I call her the devil because that's honestly what she is. She swooped in and completely changed my dad into someone I barely recognize. The worst part about their whole relationship is how secretive my dad became. He didn't even tell me he got engaged. I only found out because one of his old friends mailed a congratulations card to my mom's house by mistake. I opened it thinking it was spam mail, since all of my dad's important contacts would know his new address, right? Wrong. The card had a picture of him and the devil announcing their engagement. I stared at that photo for a solid 10 minutes, trying to process that my own father hadn't bothered to tell me he was getting married. A month later, they were married. Again, I only found out through my brother, who told me that Dad had originally planned to invite us to the wedding, but then changed his mind and eloped instead. The whole thing was bizarre. Here's a man who constantly preaches about honesty and trust, yet he couldn't even be bothered to tell his own children about major life events. But anyway, this story really starts about a week before Christmas. My mom got a package delivered to the house. Inside were 3 wrapped gifts with cards taped to the front. They were all for us kids, me, my brother, and my sister. The packages were identical in size and shape, and when I picked one up, I immediately knew what they were. My mom commented that they felt like DVDs. I agreed, joking that they were probably his wedding photos. We all laughed at that, but honestly, with my dad's track record, it wouldn't have surprised me. Christmas morning came around, and we saved his gifts for last. My brother and sister had the same suspicion about the DVDs, and when we finally opened them, we weren't disappointed. My brother got Idiocracy, my sister got the same movie, and I got something called Ghost Cat. My brother asked what the hell Ghost Cat was. I flipped the case over and read the back. It was apparently some movie from the 1980s about a cat that haunts a house to help a girl solve a murder. The reviews on the back called it forgettable and aimed at pre-teens. My sister said it looked like Dad went to a dollar DVD bin and just grabbed 3 movies without looking at them. I admitted that he knows I like cats, so maybe he tried a little bit. That's when we opened the cards. Each card was identical. Same design, same message written in the same handwriting. It was like he wrote one message and then copied it word for word into each card. Why bother with handwritten messages if you're not going to personalize them at all? Inside each card was a copy of their wedding photo. My dad was wearing a suit that looked familiar, but I couldn't place it right away. But the real kicker was the smaller card tucked inside. At first, we thought it might be a gift card or some money. Nope, it was a thank you card with a pre-stamped envelope. We all looked at each other with confusion. Why would there be a thank you card inside a Christmas gift? Then we opened it up and I swear we lost it completely. He had pre-written his own thank you message. There was even a blank line where we were supposed to sign our names. The card read, "Thank you so much for the wonderful Christmas gift. It was so thoughtful of you to think of us during the holidays. We really appreciate your generosity and kindness." My brother asked if he was serious right now. My sister wondered if he actually wanted us to thank him for giving us gifts. I pointed out that he had already written the thank you message for us and we just had to sign it. The card was covered in glitter and looked like something you'd send to someone after they gave you a wedding gift. The entitlement was absolutely mind-blowing. Here's a man who couldn't be bothered to tell his own children about his engagement and marriage, but he expects us to send him thank you cards for discount DVDs he probably bought without even looking at the titles. We all decided right then and there that we weren't sending those cards back. The audacity was just too much. What kind of person sends a gift and then demands a thank you card? We're adults, not 5-year-olds who need to be reminded of our manners. A few days later, my dad called to ask if we'd received the packages. He wanted to know if we kids had gotten the Christmas gifts he sent. I told him I hadn't seen anything and suggested that maybe the post office lost them or delivered them to the wrong house. This actually happens pretty frequently in our neighborhood, so it was believable enough. He said it was strange because he'd sent them over a week ago. I reminded him how the mail gets around the holidays and said I was sure they'd turn up eventually. He seemed satisfied with that answer and didn't push it further. I could tell he was fishing for thanks, but he wasn't going to get any. A few days later, my mom was looking at the wedding photo again when she suddenly started laughing. She told us she'd just realized something. That suit my dad was wearing in the picture was one she had bought for him when they went on vacation together, before the divorce. We all looked at the photo again, and sure enough, it was the same navy blue suit my mom had picked out for him years ago. He wore it to their wedding, and now he was showing it off in photos with his new wife. My sister wondered if the devil knew where the suit came from. My mom doubted it, but said it was pretty funny that he was wearing a suit his ex-wife bought him in his wedding photos. The whole situation was so perfectly ridiculous that we couldn't help but laugh. Here was this man who had tried to erase his previous life and start fresh, but he was literally wearing remnants of his past in his new wedding photos. I still have that thank you card sitting in my desk drawer. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.